Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. We're so glad you're here. I'm Shira Meadows, Partnership Development Representative here at Parent Powered, and I'll be moderating today's conversation. As a little background, I came to Parent Powered with 6 years of experience teaching and coaching from the preschool through high school level. During that time, I most enjoyed supporting students and families, which is one of the reasons I joined Parent Powered, because we are focused on giving families what they need to be proactive participants in their children's education. Today, I'm joined by two of my colleagues who will be sharing more about our evidence-based approach to family engagement. Up first is my colleague, Weezy Howe, Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships. She'll be sharing insights into our approach and how we support families of students from early childhood through 12th grade. Weezy will then hand it off to Rebecca Honig, our Chief Content Curriculum Officer, who will take us on a deep dive into our high school family engagement curriculum that will be launching at the start of the 2024-2025 school year. We'll leave some time at the end for questions and answers, but please don't hold back. Feel free to put questions in the Q&A box or in the comments. We'll be checking on those throughout the presentation. Take it away, Wheezy.
Thank you so much, Shira, and thank you to everyone who's joined us today to learn more about Parent Powered and our approach to authentic, low-lift family engagement. As Shira mentioned, I'm Weezy, Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships here at Parent Powered, and over the last 2 decades of my career, my role has really been focused on managing and strategically developing relationships with state agencies, thought leaders, local communities, districts, and schools to really drive positive outcomes for students across the US and internationally. Prior to joining Parent Powered in 2019, I worked for national and international organizations, including Sesame Street, Great Schools, and Giving Assistant. I also have 3 daughters, a 2.5-year-old, an 8-year-old, and an 11-year-old. So I am navigating preschool, elementary school, and middle school all on a daily basis, and I am beyond grateful for all of the supports that I get through our Parent Powered programming. So now I'll walk you through our approach to really provide insights into 2 of our key curricula, and then I'll hand it over to my incredible colleague, Rebecca, to share more about the work that she and her team have done to create an authentic and meaningful high school curriculum. So, an advance slide, thank you. So kind of starting, or if you want to go back one, perfect. So starting with research on why family engagement matters. So why do we engage families in their child's learning and development? It's really because we know it works, and we know that a child's learning success depends not only on what happens in school, but what happens at home. Research shows that a stronger connection between home and school means better outcomes for students and teachers and families and schools. And that's why developing family-school partnerships is critical for academic achievement and school improvement. So this slide here, this is just really highlighting what research tells us. So we know that when schools prioritize family engagement, teachers are more satisfied, school climate is better, parents are more involved. And when parents are more involved in schools, they have a better support and more access to resources. They also learn how to advocate for their children, and they're more engaged in their children's learning. And when families are more engaged, the parent-child relationship improves, children are regulated and ready to learn, kids get better grades, and math and reading scores increase, and attendance and graduation rates increase as well, ultimately leading to children doing better in school and in life. And we know the work is complex and nuanced, and we know that it shifts at every age and stage of development. For parents to partner in ways that are really truly support learning within the shifting school context from preschool to elementary, middle, and then high, the family engagement efforts really need to change and grow right alongside of the students. Parents are a child's first teacher, and children do best when the family, the school, and the community all work in concert to support them from birth all the way through high school. So our approach focuses on exactly that, growing right along with the child and giving families those just right tips and strategies to support that evolving parent-child relationship. So now I'll share a little bit more of the specifics about our approach. So We really focus on breaking down the complexity of engaged parenting into small, really easy to achieve steps that families can use anywhere at any time to really engage with their child. So we reach families 3 times a week all year long, so throughout the school year and summer months, with standards aligned family engagement curriculum that is leveled for the child's age and stage of development. And it's designed to support learning, development, and well-being from birth all the way through 12th grade. Now, I'll quickly walk you through the parent's experience. So what does it look like to be receiving this support? So this is a week of messaging from our core curriculum, or whole child curriculum, for a high schooler under the domain of college and career readiness. So this is roughly a 10th grade message. We always start our program on a Monday, and this Monday message is our fact message that really orients families around a particular skill and then explains why it's important for the development of their child. So fact, when you ask your teen about things they like doing, you build their self-awareness. This helps your teen work towards a future that's meaningful to them. Then on Wednesday, we send our tip message, and this is offering up an activity for building the skill of the week during an everyday moment or daily routine. So tip, notice things your teen likes doing. What captures their attention? Ask about it. For example, what do you enjoy most about drawing, basketball, acting? And then on Friday, we send a growth message, offering up a dose of encouragement and giving families one more way to grow the skill of the week and maybe even take it a little further. So growth. Mention similarities in the things your child likes doing. For example, I notice you seem to like activities that involve working with your hands. And all of this curriculum is carefully sequenced and scoped, and we spiral every 5th week, just deepening the learning over time. And so what does this mean at every age and stage? So these are just some examples. And actually, if you want to back up one to the previous slide, share, that'd be great. So these are just examples from the curriculum, the core curriculum, all the way from preschool through the high school years. And it's really highlighting kind of what are we covering. So in the preschool years, as you're working to build a community of learners and engage in literacy, math, and science exploration, we're sending parents activities on how to support a love of learning, number sense, phonemic awareness during their daily moments, like rhyming with objects as they cook. We're also reaching them with activities to build their child's sense of self and their ability to share and manage big feelings. And then in the elementary school years, this is where you're working to build strong readers and mathematical thinkers and meet learning standards across multiple domains. Then we're giving parents ways to support these standards at home. But we're also messaging them with tips and tricks to support strong executive function skills, resilience, problem solving, and healthy routines, like establishing, strong sleep routines and morning routines, so that kids show up each day ready to focus, collaborate, and really learn. Then in the middle school, this is when engagement can tend to drop off, and we keep families engaged as partners, giving them developmentally appropriate ways to support learning, while also encouraging and leveraging their child's growing independence. We help them understand adolescent development and how their kids remain excited about school through strong academic socialization. We also offer up tips to help middle schoolers navigate friendships, make healthy choices, and also self-advocate. Then moving into high school, we position parents as partners in their teens' post-secondary planning, so helping teens to reflect on their strengths and interests and set personally meaningful goals and next steps. In these years, we also focus on strategies that build and maintain open communication and active listening at home, so the parents remain a strong guide and touch point in their teens' lives, even as their teen gets ready to launch into adulthood. And we offer lots of ways to support strong attendance, healthy relationships, safe technology habits, and more. Rebecca is about to take us on a deep dive into high school framework, so I won't go too much further into that. And in addition to the core curriculum, we also have a trauma-informed version. And this is our most intensive curriculum, really designed to help families buffer the effects of trauma and connect them to critical local resources within their community. So what makes it trauma-informed? So we took our whole child curriculum and aligned it to the Strengthening Families Protective Factors framework, which sets forth 5 qualities that help parents and caregivers buffer the effects of trauma on their children. And we added additional supports, including a secondary message stream to connect families to resources. The trauma-informed curriculum covers many of the same topics as our core program, but we've added supports and aligned the curriculum in these kind of 4 key areas that you see on your screen. So parental resilience, this is all about helping parents build capacity to cue into their own needs so they can parent strong when they're stressed. Then under social connections, so we're helping families build supportive connections within their schools and communities. And then social emotional competence of children, this is helping parents cue into their child's emotions and respond in ways that are just right for their child and help them manage feelings and relationships. And then in knowledge of parenting and child development, we help parents understand what kids are learning and then give them tips and activities to support those academic benchmarks within the home environment. And we added supports to account for the impact of trauma. We scaffold, sequence, and edit academic messages to account for any activating experiences born out of a parent's own experience in school. So, for example, in our core program, we might jump into a message around dialogic reading, but in trauma-informed, we're first going to include a general message that frames shared book reading as a way to build the bond with the child while also building literacy skills. We also scoured all of the trauma-informed curriculum for any potential references that could be activating to families. So we know that close physical contact like snuggling can be really activating for someone who's experienced abuse or physical trauma. So in our core program, we might have suggested snuggling up as you talk about your day, but in our trauma-informed curriculum, we're going to suggest sitting together or holding hands. And these subtle shifts just make all of this feel really doable for families. And we've also added in twice as much social emotional learning support for children to help them navigate adversity and challenge and self-regulate during hard times. And we send regular messaging on parental self-care, parental resilience, and executive function to make sure, adults tend to their own needs so they can further support their children. All of this program was reviewed and informed by mental health providers, trauma experts, pediatricians, community health workers, and most importantly, families who've been impacted by trauma. And as I mentioned, in addition to the curriculum, we also developed a secondary messaging stream called the Community Support Stream to connect families to those local resources to really provide that wraparound support they need. So this on the screen is just a visual of those 2 message streams side by side. So on the left, this is our curriculum, so you'll see the fact tip growth. And then on the right is that community support stream with carefully curated connect messages that link directly to the local and national resources that our partners designate. So we're linking to things like, basic needs like food and housing assistance, cultural centers, mental health supports, language supports, and much, much more. And our team sits down and guides all of our partners through this community asset mapping to really create these connect messages and link the families to the resources, making it easy for families to find what they need when they need it the most. And through the entire family engagement journey from birth all the way through 12th grade, we work to really build a support, trust, and partnership between home and school, strengthen advocacy, support attendance, orient families around school-based requirements and transitions, connect families with concrete local resources to make sure families have the basic needs met so that to set the stage for learning. And we work to break down the traditional barriers to engagement. So we're offering families strategies for communicating with their school and navigating those school-based systems that may seem really overwhelming. And every age and stage, our tips or strategies are really rooted in what is proven to work, evidence-based practices. Everything is informed by research, experts in the field, mental health, child development, and countless listening sessions with schools, districts, parents, and students. And we know that your families are unique, which is why we also offer several programs and the ability to version content to best respond to the needs and the strengths and needs of your family. Want to mention a little about implementation. We also have designed the program to really help our partners reach as many families as possible through our unique one-click enrollment. And we give them access to all of the data and reporting. This includes insights like live enrollment and persistence, usage, and much, much more. We also survey families regularly, and we collect both the qualitative and quantitative feedback and share it with our partners. So now that I've sort of laid the foundation at a high level for our approach and kind of what the program looks like, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Rebecca Honig, to share a little bit more about our approach to supporting families and caregivers of high schoolers.
Thank you, Wheezy. Hi, everybody. I'm Rebecca Honig, and as Wheezy mentioned, I'm the Chief Content and Curriculum Officer at ParentPowered, so I get to work with a really amazing team to build our programs. I've been making stuff for families for the past 25 years. I actually started out as a teacher and then moved into content creation at Sesame Street and Scholastic and HITN and WGBH and PBS and lots of places. I've made my rounds, and I'm so happy to have landed here, getting to reach so many families with evidence-based support. All right, so I'm here to talk about high school, and I can't wait to do that because I also, in addition to being so excited about this program, I am the mother of 3 children in various stages of adolescence. And I have one in high school right now. And so I feel very personally invested in this topic as well as being professionally invested in it. We have to start, I guess, by asking why are we going to high school? And this is probably not news to anyone on this call, but it has huge benefits, including, and when I say it, I'm talking about family engagement. So when we engage families on the high school journey, we see students have higher grades, increased attendance, greater clarity on their career goals and future aspirations, increased wellness and overall life satisfaction. But we also know, right, that it's just hard during these years to engage. Families have less clarity on how to make it happen, on how to support academics, on how to connect with the school. Layer adolescent development on top of that, right? Students giving off very clear signals that they'd like their parents to step back. And it just becomes very hard to know how to be involved. One of our advisors aptly described it when she said, parents have to become like the sides of a pool, right? So their children, they go off and they're swimming and they're off on their own, but they have to be able to return to the sides of that pool and kind of hang on, catch their energy, and before they push off again. And parents need to know how to respond when their kids are hanging on the edge, and then how to endure and respond when their kids are pushing off. And it's quite a task, and one we are so excited to get to support. The program development process has just been, I think, my favorite thing ever. Our high school development process, it does mirror the same process we've used across the development of all of our curricula. It's multifaceted and multidimensional. We start with research, including a lit review and a standards crosswalk that we sort of takes us all the way across the nation. We take this information and we combine it with practitioner interviews, consulting with advisors and specialists and educators. And then we lead listening sessions all across the country. For high school in particular, we've been able to include teen listening sessions in addition to practitioner listening sessions and parent listening sessions. And that has been truly amazing. It's been both reassuring because what the teens have expressed as important to them really does align with the research, and for the most part with what parents are saying as well, with one very clear outlier. I just have to call this out because I find this to be, it's just such a wonderful encapsulation of the parent-child relationship. So in our parent listening sessions, we were asking them to ruminate on when are those times where you really find that you're most able to connect with your teen. And across the board, parents said, and I bet you can guess, the car. And they specifically said, I love talking to my teenager in the car because they can't get out of it. They're strapped in. Well, when we ask teenagers the same question, where do you like to connect with parents and caregivers? They said, well, any place but the car, not the car, because you can't get out of it. I thought that was just such a perfect encapsulation of that dynamic. And what we do with that information becomes very interesting. All right, so let's move on to see what we learned from everybody. And one of the magic sort of aspects of these listening sessions and this research is when everybody is saying the same thing. It doesn't always happen, but it did happen in our high school program. Everyone was asking for the same things. And the result is our framework, in which you'll see this in front of you now, in which we define sort of our core domains. And under those domains, we look at what topics and what skills we're going to cover. So our core domains within our high school program are academics and lifelong learning, well-being and life skills, college and career readiness, home and school partnership, and approaches to parenting. And we're going to dive into each one of those right now so you can have a sense of what it covers. But one thing I want to say is that our program cycles through these domains. So if we're messaging on academics and lifelong learning one week, the next week we're pivoting to well-being and life skills, for example. Every fifth week, we also take a deep dive on a topic that requires more information and include a click-through, which I'll talk to briefly. All right, so first things first, the first domain that we'll talk about is academics and lifelong learning. So something you might notice about this domain is you see a lot of topics that are future facing and skills as well. So these are going to be things that set teens up to be lifelong learners. For example, self-direction and curiosity. And that is really because, as you all know, so much of the job of high school is preparing for what comes after high school. The next thing you might notice in the academic domain is you don't see discrete subjects, right? You don't see math, you don't see literacy. And that's really because at this age, it's no longer developmentally appropriate or effective for parents and caregivers to offer that direct skill support. So instead, we want to pivot that focus on overarching strategies that are going to help teens to be self-directed, self-motivated learners, and self-advocates. Research also shows that one of the most effective ways for parents to influence academic success in adolescence is through what we would refer to as academic socialization. So that's basically helping adolescents to see all the ways that their passions and interests map onto what they're learning in the school day. And this can have a profound effect on attendance and graduation rates. So the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation did a study on students who had dropped out of high school, and they found that 74% of these students actually had passing grades. And when asked why they quit, they said that they didn't feel that what they were learning was relevant to them. So they had career ideas in mind, but no one had been discussing with them how what they were learning in school pertained to their end goal. So we can really see that when it comes to addressing things like our attendance crisis, there is a real, amazing at-home opportunity for parents and caregivers to help their teens find personal meaning in what they're learning in school. You'll also see universal skills covered within this portion of the framework. So these are skills consistently ranked by employers and colleges as being critical to life beyond high school. And they include skills like adaptability, collaboration, communication, creativity, critical thinking, and problem solving. A whole lot of C's. All right. The next domain that we'll move on to is college and career readiness. And of course, this domain is totally responsive to this phase of development. Many of you may be in districts that have joined the 38 states that have begun to use ILPs, or individual learning plans. I know they go by lots of different names, to really strengthen the transition between school and college or work. It's both a document where students can log their courses and career goals, but it's also a process whereby students engage in self-reflection, career exploration, goal setting, planning, and then the overall implementation of that plan. And in our listening sessions, what we found is that though ILPs are required, rarely are parents and caregivers brought into this process. So the focus of our work in this domain is to map them onto it, right? Set them up with information, questions, and activities that help them to be partners in this path towards their teens' post-secondary future. This includes things like talking about strengths and aspirations, chatting about careers as you see them around you, and checking in about steps teens are taking towards their goals and about deadlines and applications. And this form of parental involvement is, of course, backed up by research. Studies show that parents across socioeconomic status levels play a key role in promoting upward mobility and motivating children to think about future employment and helping students navigate educational and career decisions. So a 2017 study actually found that future wage earnings at age 26 increased by 0.8% for each meaningful career conversation students experienced in middle and high school. So there is just a tremendous opportunity to get those conversations happening at home on a regular basis. All right, next we'll talk a bit about well-being and life skills. So this is that domain in which you'll see some of those skills that you may have labeled in the earlier years as falling under, life skills or well-being, or SEL. Only at this phase of development, these skills really have been taught, right? So we're not learning them. We're really practicing them in the service of overarching well-being and the ability to navigate life. Of course, this domain has a heavy focus on mental health, and this is critical, in fact, more critical now than ever before. A recent report from the CDC found that mental health among students overall continues to worsen, with more than 40% of high school students feeling so sad or hopeless that they could not engage in their regular activities for at least 2 weeks during the previous year. So you can imagine the impact on things like attendance. We recently surveyed parents of incoming high schoolers. So these would be parents of 8th graders in our middle school program, asking them, where do you want more support? Overwhelmingly, the topics related to mental health and well-being received the highest numbers. And this was echoed by all the participants on our listening sessions. Again and again, our partners have universally expressed concern over an observed rise in student anxiety, concerns over social media, and observations of what one of our advisors characterized as a rise in existential dread. Like all ages and stages of our program, we're not a mental health solution, but we do promote strategies, reflective practices, and parent-child interactions that build teens' ability to evaluate and share their feelings and build that trusting bond with a parent that then serves as a buffer against everything from everyday stress to trauma. The research really is crystal clear. Strong relationships with caring adults is the single most powerful force in supporting adolescent mental health. Strong relationships are also a strong predictor of great attendance. When children feel connected to people, when they feel a sense of belonging and a sense that they are known, they are more likely to maintain strong attendance. Next, we move on to a domain that's truly integral to creating strong parent and teen relationships, and that is approaches to parenting. So this is the domain that we really orient parents around adolescent development and how to see it through a strength-based lens. For example, it is in this domain that we help parents to see that when their teens unload on them, which happens to me on the daily, that it actually represents a critical coping strategy that their teens are successfully implementing, and that it demonstrates trust, right? The teen years can have a stereotypical bad rap, and we really do have to change that. Research shows that parents with positive views about teens have better communication and report better well-being. So we want to reframe these interactions through a strength-based lens, orient families around what's happening from a developmental standpoint and what is actually the purpose of some of the behaviors they're observing in their teens. How is it helping them grow? So this is also this domain where we directly address that transition from captain to co-pilot that Wheezy spoke about. We heard again and again in our research that parents can actually interpret adolescents' desire for independence as a cue to disengage as opposed to differently engage. So here we help parents to understand what's going on for teens as they work to individuate and how they can adapt their communication and their overall support to meet their teens' shifting needs. As you can imagine, we have a heavy focus on active listening here. I will say this is the number one thing that came out in our teen listening sessions. They want to be heard and understood by their parents and caregivers. We also have a heavy focus in this domain on the importance of positive parental modeling. And because no matter what the age of the child you parent, you have to maintain your own resilience and sense of self, we offer as well some parental self-care tips and strategies within this domain as well. And lastly, we'll move on to our homeschool partnership domain. So we like to say that this is where we give families the goods to navigate the systems of school. So build relationships within the school and advocate for their students' needs. Our program really supports that shift that's happening in family engagement towards parent leadership and joint decision-making. And this is the domain where we really lay the foundation for parents and caregivers to be able to step into collaboration and even leadership within the high school model. We orient them around requirements, ways to support strong attendance, how to reach out with questions, and how to advocate for their students' needs. This domain also focuses on giving parents ways to support the many transitions that exist within high school, from that very beginning initial transition into high school, all the way to that transition from high school to college and career training programs. And this final transition is really a big one. Research finds that up to 40% of students who finish high school with the intention of going to college actually don't go. So without the continued support of the school system, it can become exceptionally challenging to navigate that transition. Our year-long program very intentionally extends all summer long so that we can provide that extra 3 months of support that schools aren't in the position traditionally to give once their students have graduated. So we will stick with them through the summer. I want to call attention to the fact message here. So it says, fact, strong attendance is critical in high school. So much learning happens every day. For ways to set the stage for a year of strong attendance, click here. And I want to mention this because I know at the beginning I was sharing about the click-throughs every 5 weeks. There are just very complicated things to understand when your child is in high school. So every 5 weeks, we link to additional resources that we'll see on the next slide on topics that are more complicated to navigate. So if we advance one slide, there we go. Some of those topics include navigating technology, how to support great attendance, strategies to be an active listener. We also link to term sheets related to high school, and also the college and career and training and apprenticeship process. And we want to make sure that when we are orienting students around their possible careers, that we're also linking out to videos they can watch related to what some of those careers are that they may not have access to within their daily lives. So that's all going to come on that every 5th week sort of deeper dive on a specific topic that requires more support. I just wanted to end my portion on some of the testimonials that we get from our middle school families, because they're transitioning into the parenting of an adolescence, because I'm thinking this sets the stage nicely for how families might respond to our high school program. I don't know, Weezy, if you had a favorite one as you were making this slide. I love the one up top. Great help with my parenting instincts. Thanks for making this available. I'm grateful for the advanced knowledge in parenting that I really need daily. I never felt better about being a mother. That one got me. And we hear this again and again from our middle school families, that one of the key shifts they notice after implementing the strategies is that they have more open communication with their children, that their children let them in more, that they have better insights in what their children are thinking and feeling. And I know when that happens for me as a parent, it really is magical. And I, in those moments, never feel better than in those moments about my parenting as well. So
absolutely. So now, yeah, we're gonna opening it up for questions. So I'm gonna hand it back to Shira and see if we got any questions from the group. Oh, you're on mute, Shira.
Thank you so much, Wheezy and Rebecca. That was incredible. And as we are now having time for questions, I'm excited to see what questions you all have. And of course, if any have come up throughout the presentation, please put them into the chat box or into the question and answer, and we'll be going through them now. So I'm looking through the questions here. Can we get a statistic again regarding the income gap going up 0.8% with each meaningful career conversation? Rebecca, I think that's one for you.
I feel like I should just link to the study. Is there a way to share that out afterwards? It's the
Yeah,
OCD
absolutely.
study. Yeah, it's a fascinating study. And I kept like refinding it and rereading it because I was like, how can that be? That's such an incredible statistic. But I'll send a link.
Amazing. Oh yeah, sorry, Weezy, I saw you responded to that one. Can parents respond to messages? Is there a two-way communication feature?
So currently, we do not have the two-way communication feature directly, but we do have the ability to survey families on demand, so we can get some perspective from them directly. Partners can do that. We do that automatically on a quarterly basis, but partners can pop in and ask questions of their families at any point.
Are tools available to Canadians?
Absolutely. So we do work with a few organizations within Canada, and we're happy to be talk to you about kind of making it available to your families as well.
Awesome. And we've got another question here. We have a lot of first generation college goers in our districts. How do you help their parents understand the process and get involved when they don't know anything themselves?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is something we learned a lot about on our listening sessions. We were actually, many of the districts we talked to had different supports for first generation families who are having to navigate these systems and these terms for the first time. And so that really was one of the major impetuses between having the click-throughs with additional information. So a lot of what those do is orient families around the systems, the terminology, the expectations, also linking out to where to get more support for things like filling out the FAFSA, for example. Another thing we want to do, though, in our messaging stream, and this is for all families, but I think it's particularly relevant for first generation families, is really saying to them, you do not have to have had this experience to support this experience. And that actually one of the best things that you can do is talk to your child about their interests, explore possibilities together. I think in all of our programs, we are always looking for this strengths-based point of entry. This is something in the early years that comes up again and again with math, right? I know for myself, once we got past fractions, I was like, I'm out. And it's all about reframing, right? Like, you aren't out, actually. You can always support this, and here's how. So finding the strength-based ways. And the amazing thing about college and career readiness is that the most impactful influences have to do with these everyday moments, talking about strengths, talking about possibilities, talking about aspirations, and helping teens to sort of meet their goals along the way.
And how do families get enrolled?
Lost my mute button. Sorry, I can take that one. So our focus is really reaching as many families as possible in the most equitable way. So we do have we work with most of our partners using what we refer to as kind of a one-click enrollment method, where they can upload all of their parent and caregiver data all at once into our secure partner dashboard. The only data we really need is the phone number of the caregiver, the language, child's date of birth, grade level. And we also have partnerships with certain student information systems like PowerSchools, where there's a pre-populated report to do this. Once that report's into our system, then it's a matter of clicking launch. And then on the first Monday after that launch button is clicked, families receive a welcome message explaining that the district is, providing the program or the school, and then explains a little bit about it, and then gives them the ability to reply stop. If a parent replies stop at any point, we remove them and we don't message them again. Generally, we see around a 90 to 95% participation rate when partners use this enrollment method. So it is our preferred method, but we do have additional enrollment methods that we can rely on as well, especially in the younger years where the access to the data is not as easy. So hopefully that answered the question.
And following up on our friends in Canada, where can I find out more information on accessing that information?
Yes, we can actually follow up. I believe that we put it into the chat, but there is a link where you can just submit some information, and someone on our team will follow up directly with you about having a conversation related to getting the program up in Canada.
And we have a few participants who aren't able to attend the beginning. Will this session be available to access after we're done?
Yes, we will be emailing out the video and a follow-up, I believe, in the next few hours, but I don't want to promise that. And yes, very soon.
And also, there are some questions regarding cost and implementation.
Yeah, absolutely. So we try to make the program as affordable as possible. The cost of the program ranges by curriculum type, and it's really based on the size of the program, so the number of families you're serving. But generally, it ranges anywhere from $8 to $10 per enrollment per year, so it's really low cost. And I think that was kind of it. We also have grant programs available for those organizations who are serving a high number of economically disadvantaged families too. So that is also on our site, or you can follow the link and we can send you a link to the application for that.
All right, looks we have like one or two more questions. How do you help parents set boundaries with social media and phones? Is that something you address?
It is. It's a sticky topic, and everybody was asking for it. So our main strategy is building reflective practices for both parents and teens. For example, here's a strategy I love, is noticing how your feed makes you feel. We want teens noticing, does this feel good? Is this, because any kind of technology habits, or if a family is going to put on some sort of guidelines or rules, really is coming from that type of reflection. We all know that rules are more closely followed when at this age, when it's a collaborative process. So we want everyone kind of acknowledging the benefits that technology has for teens, because it is extremely important to them, as we all know, in their socialization and their studying, but then also looking at making sure that they're also able to enjoy the benefits of all the other things life has to offer. So that's all going to come from the pausing to reflect. We actually call it the power of the pause, and we have a lot of supports around, noticing, is my teen still, are they getting outside? Are they doing the things that are hands-on and put them face to face with people, in addition to, how they're using social media? And then just encouraging everybody, like from the parent's perspective, how does my child seem right after they've used social media, for example, and kids noticing this as well. We also extend the power of a pause to pause before pressing send, and having that moment of reflection to say, would I want my grandmother to read this message? Do I feel, is this a good representation of my best self? So we have lots of little tidbits we give everybody around how to kind of reflect on the role that technology is playing in their lives.
And let's see, we have a few more coming in here. Is this the program that NPAs can use in concert with other parent education programs that they utilize?
Yes, we absolutely fit nicely in a broad, like essentially all family engagement frameworks. We really kind of dovetail nicely into other practices and various tiers. Anything else to add specific to that, Rebecca?
I mean, we have a lot of family support professionals utilizing our messages. One of the things we hear is it's so nice to kind of be on the same page about like, okay, here's a strategy and that you're going to try and we're going to enforce it and talk about it. So the short answer is yes.
Amazing. It looks like we have one last question. Do you link out anything on college and career readiness?
A lot, yes, a lot. Term sheets, we link to career. There's a wonderful sort of career track videos that we link to. They're like just a couple minutes long where you get to hear about a professional who has a specific career, how they got there, what the training involved was. We link out to reflection tools that allow kids to think about like their future self and the steps they want to take to get there. So goal sheets. So a lot of our links are directly related to college and career readiness, as well as a lot of our messages.
And we have one big question left. If we have any other questions, please reach out. We would love to connect. Are your programs aligned to standards?
They absolutely are. At every age and stage. So we are aligned to the standards of all 50 states. We're aligned to the dual capacity framework. We're aligned to Head Start Early Learning Outcomes framework. We are at the high school level. We are aligned to ILP frameworks as well as it's interesting at the high school level. What we do is we look at our national standards, our state standards, but then we walk back till we find the strengths-based parental point of entry. So that's our approach to those like explicit academic standards, for example.
Thank you so much, Rebecca and Wheezy, and thank you everyone for attending and participating today. Those were some great questions. Please continue to send us questions and be in touch. We hope that we were able to support you with our family engagement efforts. As you exit the webinar, you'll have an opportunity to request information. So if you chatted something and it didn't get answered, or if you're looking for information, please utilize that opportunity to let us know and we will be in touch and we can schedule time to meet. We hope to reconnect with you soon and we hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Guys, bye.